What's going on, guys? So we are in front of the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. This specific one is a Pro 4X, which means we get the off-road package here, but today we're going to be towing this new Airstream. So this is a Flying Cloud Airstream. Let's look at the numbers on the Airstream real quick. 7,300 pounds. It's going to have twin 3,800 pound axles, and not exactly sure how long it is, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be about 30 feet long tip to tip. I have Ryan the engineer way over there, so he'll be joining us as well. And yeah, this thing is set up with an easy lift weight distribution system with twin spring bars. This is a very basic weight distribution system. I like this. I like the fact that we're not going super custom extreme on the weight distribution setup. And we have it in the back of this, again, all new 2025 Nissan Armada Pro 4X. This is cool. 425 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, from a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 paired to a 9-speed transmission. Let's hit the road, see what it's about. All right, I got Ryan here with me, and Ryan, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Ryan. I'm with Nissan. I'm an engineer at the test center.
Perfect. Me and Ryan have been spending a lot of time together. This is kind of one of those things where when you go to these media drive events, there's a lot of engineers out here. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of VPs and directors of this and that. I always like to kind of pair myself up with somebody who is kind of universally grounded in everything, but at the same time isn't afraid to critique or isn't afraid to, let's just say, be real. Because sometimes you go to these events and everybody's kind of like a robot and it's difficult to actually get some good information. So I appreciate that. A piece of information he just asked me, if you don't mind me sharing it,
please go ahead.
Related to the weight distribution hitch. We just looked at it and he said, is that a good one? Because I'm going to be honest, it's a very popular one. So, you know, it's one of those weight distribution hitches that you can see just about at any store. You can probably pick one up at probably Home Depot or Lowe's if you want to. The reality of it is it's a very limiting weight distribution hitch. It's effective. It does what it's supposed to do. It's a spring bar based system with chains. It's only weight distribution. I didn't see any sway control on that specific one, which is good because I want to actually feel how this tows with no sway control. Ideally, in a towing evaluation like this, I would have preferred a more conventional travel trailer. And what I mean by that is Airstream is like the Nissan Armada Platinum Reserve of travel trailers. They don't cost under $100,000. They're expensive. They're relatively lightweight for what they are, but their claim to fame is that they're super easy to tow. And they just do things right in terms of how they design their structure and chassis to make them very towable. But a more conventional travel trailer would be the traditional $60,000 travel trailer that most people would go and buy, because those sometimes tow a little different. But because we don't have sway control on here, that's going to even things out a little bit. Now, does the Nissan Armada have any type of integrated sway control for trailer towing?
Of course, we have trailer sway control integrated into the system.
Okay, so there's some towing features.
Let's not test that today, okay?
Oh man, I kind of want to test that a little bit, okay? So we may test that if he doesn't know that we're testing it. The question is can you talk about real quickly some tow features of this vehicle? Let me get the camera down so we can go into the right settings.
Yeah, let's start with the brake controller. We have integrated trailer brake controller. This is all new for this Armada that we're launching with you today. The other thing that we have is this cool little right here's tow mode, integrated with all the other off-road modes, the sport mode. What that does is that's going to change your transmission shift logic. You're going to get the earlier downshifts, hold the gear a little longer. We're really going to notice as we come to a light and we get those or come to a stop and we get those downshifts to help slow and control the vehicle speed. We're not going to be on a lot of hills, so it's not going to be getting that lower gear as we come down the hill. But when you get it out in the mountains, you'll be able to experience it. The other thing this does is this sets your height control. It's not going to raise and lower the vehicle. You put it in park. We're in park now. When we go out to drive, it's going to set the height and it's going to maintain. You don't want to get into the aero mode when you're out on the highway, changing your angles and changing your tongue weight, as well as when you go to park, you're not going to want to drop to your access mode. So we're going to maintain, as long as we're in that trailer tow mode, we're going to maintain our air suspension.
Okay, so a question I have for you is related to weight distribution with air suspension. So when you put it in tow mode, if I turn the vehicle off now and I go to the back of the vehicle, you said it's not going to want to.
No, it's going to maintain its height as long as we're in the tow mode.
Okay, so whenever I set up weight distribution, I need to set that up while I'm in tow mode.
Without a doubt.
And the reason for this, in case people are trying to figure out why I'm talking about this, is because if you don't have it set in tow mode, whenever you hitch up your trailer to the back and you start trying to dial things in, you start the vehicle, it could adjust the height of your vehicle, or it could be at a different height when you set up your weight distribution. Then when you start your vehicle, it changes to a new height and it can throw things way, 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 way off. And you don't want to do that. And that goes for any vehicle with any type of auto leveling rear suspension. You just want to be very, very cautious that you are in a mode that allows you to set up weight distribution and it stays in that mode at that height, because that's what you're dialing your weight distribution into whenever you're getting set up. All right.
That's correct.
Did I say anything
you
wrong
nailed
there?
It, man.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to hit the road, and we'll just see how things go as we get on the road. All right. Do you have the option, or is there an optional like trailer camera, auxiliary camera capability?
Auxiliary cameras.
That's one you can put on the note for the next evolutionary update.
It's on my list. Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody earlier, and the thing I love about those is the placement anywhere. So, you know, I talked to a guy. A lot of them you'll see put them on the back of the trailer. And I talked to a guy, and he had horses. He doesn't put it on the back of the trailer; he puts it inside, so he can look at the horses while he's, you know, towing wherever he's towing to. So I like the flexibility of the camera systems.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a camera mounted on the back of the Armada right now, looking down at the weight distribution. So we'll zoom in on that a little bit. You won't really be able to pick up sway or anything like that in the camera, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it if we're experiencing any. I want to check something out here real quick. So the trailer brakes are connected or dialed in at 4.5. It's not bad. Yeah, 4.5 is about where you want to be.
That's my starting point. When I set it to 4.5. I'll typically come to a stop. I want to balance. I don't want the trailer stopping me, and I don't want the truck stopping the trailer. I want to balance between the two. And then I'll check the squeeze and make sure I have, in case of an emergency situation, I can squeeze and stop myself. So,
yep. So we're gonna make a left here.
Make a left.
All right. First thing I want to see is how this thing feels when we accelerate. Definitely tell that the shift pattern's different. Staying in lower gears longer to get that extra torque to get it moving. It feels good. You can definitely tell you got weight behind you though. So it doesn't feel as if it's excessive weight, like it's struggling at all. But you know, there's a lot of folks, especially the bigger the vehicle you get, like to make the comment, I couldn't even tell it was back there. Those folks scare me, because I always want to know when I'm hauling a trailer.
Yes.
Always want to know. Right. I don't ever want to feel as if the trailer's not back there. Now I get when you're going interstate speeds and you're on cruise control, you know, you may not realize that you're towing something because it's so effortless, or because you're at speed and again you're on cruise control. But when I'm driving on roads like this, when I'm driving around town, I always want to know I have a trailer behind me. And
for sure,
it helps you just plan ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if I check my mirrors often when I'm not towing, I'm constantly checking my mirrors and looking around, and I'm much more alert. That was a big part of our thinking as we go through the development, is to make the experience as effortlessly as possible. I don't want to, at the end of the day, after towing 500 miles, be exhausted.
Yep. And that is so a part of RVing for most people.
Right.
They get a vehicle that they feel is capable. They go to a dealership, they trust what that dealership tells them, and they end up with a trailer that's way too heavy for their tow vehicle. And that can make for some of the most stressful trips ever. Now, on a day like today, right now, it wouldn't be bad at all. If I was slightly heavy, if things were a little weird, I don't have any wind right now, it's sunny outside, a lot of visibility, perfectly fine. But a day like yesterday,
Right.
would have changed things completely.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people take off on trips on a sunny, beautiful day. They go somewhere for a few days, but the trip back is not so sunny or beautiful anymore. And what we're not experiencing right now is sway, because we don't have any issues to lead to that. And the balancing of the trailer behind the SUV, all of that is dialed in. Now I'm gonna do what I told him I wouldn't do, but I'm only gonna do it a little bit, so please don't get mad at me. I'm just gonna do a little bit of side to side stuff like this. This to me lets me know how balanced in a trailer is. That feels good. That's
Yeah, it
tracking
does.
good.
Sure does.
It's not making me feel as if that motion is getting worse and worse and worse. That's how you know when you're not properly balanced, when you don't have good weight distribution, and when sway is starting to be induced. And the way out of that, I'm going to give the engineer a pop quiz. How would you get out of that if we started experiencing that sway?
I'm going to reach my right hand down and grab that
Trailer brake controller. Yep. You want to create a tug of war between your trailer and your truck or your tow vehicle, and you want to essentially create tension between the two where they're pulling each other apart. And that's how you get out of a sway situation. So many people, I don't think, realize that.
No.
Or maybe they don't trust it. I don't know.
And you have to be aware of it. I drive a lot of different vehicles. And if I'm towing, the number one thing in my mind is, where is that controller? Whether it's on the left hand, the right hand, high, low, wherever, I want to know exactly how to get there. That's my first motion. And tens and tens of thousands of miles towing. I've experienced trailer sway twice. And I don't want to ever experience it again.
It's a horrible feeling.
It's a terrible, terrible thing. And the thing that's not on your mind in that situation is to reach for the trailer brake control. You have to train your mind to think, not to just start correcting the steering, but to grab that, to put that anchor behind you to get you straight and slowed down.
Yep. And it will fix your problems the vast majority of the time.
Correct.
If you are overbalanced towards the back of your trailer, that's what makes things difficult to correct from, because now you have a trailer that wants to push more than it's allowing you to pull. But that's the key, everyone. So if you start to get in that mode where the trailer starts doing this number and you start feeling it go back and forth a little bit, easiest thing to do is grab that trailer brake, start pinching the brake a little bit. And what I do at that point is if I feel that that motion will continue if I let off, my hand stays on that trailer brake controller the whole time until I'm out of the situation, or even until I get to where I'm going, understanding you don't want to ride the brake on the trailer because you can cause brake fade. You can cause the brakes to actually stop working for you if you're not careful. If you are experiencing a bad towing situation because of sway, the best thing to do is to pull off the road and fix it. Fix what's going on, whether it's weight distribution, whether it's relocating what you have in the vehicle, or, I hate to say this in some cases, whether it's calling someone else to tow your trailer for you.
That's great advice. And I have personal experience. I was 20 years old, leaving college, and I guess maybe I was 22. Leaving college, and I had everything. I packed everything up in my Blazer, had a U-Haul trailer behind it, double axle. Of course, the most important thing is my toolbox. So I kept it inside overnight to make sure all my tools didn't get stolen. So the next morning when I went out, first thing I did, loaded it in the back of the trailer, took off. Never been across the scale, didn't have a trailer brake controller, had surge brakes, and took off. I went 50 miles. I have a 1,000-mile trip from Arizona to Kansas. It was the most stressful, and I wasn't on curvy roads. I was just driving to Payson, Arizona. I did not understand. I could not understand why it just felt so scary.
Yeah.
I took that toolbox, moved it from the back of the trailer to the back of the truck. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
You have to know that, and sometimes you just have to learn it from experience.
And I think sometimes people have the false idea of what weight distribution actually does as well. A lot of folks rely purely on weight distribution to level out their vehicle. But you also have to realize, though, in the process of leveling out your vehicle, you could absolutely be removing too much weight from the front of your trailer and intentionally putting it in the back of your trailer. And it will lead to the same scenario.
Correct.
A level vehicle does not mean a vehicle that will not experience sway. And oftentimes, airbags and leveling systems can give you the false impression that because I'm leveling my vehicle out and it looks great, that I don't need weight distribution. I love the fact that you guys put weight distribution on here because, I mean, the reality is you have auto leveling on here. If you didn't have that weight distribution and she hitched up to the Airstream, the SUV would level itself out and everything would still look perfect.
Right.
But it would be a terrible towing experience and you wouldn't know why. You're like, everything looks level. Airbags do not give you weight distribution. Airbags just lift the back of your vehicle up. Weight distribution creates a spring effect, an arching effect between the two vehicles, and it adds weight to the front of your vehicle and it adds weight to the back of your vehicle from the weight that you're transferring in the center. And that's the problem a lot of people, again, don't realize. They think if I throw airbags on a vehicle that's squatting, I've fixed the problem.
We arrived here on Saturday and went to hook these trailers up. These are rental trailers. They had weight distribution hitches with them. It took us 15 minutes to say no. They were, I don't even know the system, and it seemed like it required a breakover bar to twist this cam across and tighten the chains, and there was no flexibility. And I thought, what if I was just Joe Customer that didn't have the means to know that this is not going to work, and didn't have the $400 or whatever it cost us to go to the trailer manufacturer. I mean, we drove an hour and a half one way, an hour and a half back the other way because I refused to use that system that just didn't seem safe to me. Mm-hmm. This isn't the same system we test with. It's similar, but it was much better than what we got as a rental. And if I was a customer and they delivered this to my house and I hooked it up and I was like, I wouldn't know any better.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that, you need to educate yourself. Listening to your channel or however you're doing it, don't just jump out there and put on whatever hookup without the knowledge of what you are actually doing.
Yep. And what effect it has on your vehicle and your trailer. Yep. And I hate to say this too, a lot of times even the people that work at RV dealerships have no idea what they're talking about. And they just see it done. They see it done, so they're like, okay, so this is what it needs to look like. And unfortunately, just because something looks a certain way doesn't mean that's how it's engineered to work.
And I have to imagine there's a lot of people out there that have had one bad experience. They went and rented a trailer. It was a terrible trip. The vehicle wasn't set, or the trailer wasn't set up correctly, and they just said never again.
Yep.
And you took that population away from something they probably could have enjoyed for years. But because of that one bad tow situation, it's fear that's always in the back of your mind.
And that's absolutely true. And a lot of people get into RVing thinking it's going to be, well, honestly, a lot of people get into RVing with a lot of assumptions. One of those is that because RV stands for recreational vehicle, that at every aspect of it's going to be fun and enjoyable and there's no work until they have to fix something that's broken, or they have to clean their black tank, or they have to get everything leveled up and connected. There's work that's involved with it. And, you know, at the end of the day, it is still fun, but towing sometimes is the most stressful part of RVing, getting to where you're going. And oftentimes you can even have a really, really great towing experience. Like right now, everything is towing really well. I probably should have mentioned that more through the video since this is a towing evaluation, but it's towing great. Even when that semi went by us, I didn't feel it. It's towing really, really well. I'm pleased with this setup. Now I can imagine that this trailer, which I think it had a little over 7,000 pounds GVWR, probably has a dry weight that's a couple thousand pounds less than that. So we are probably, I'm guessing, in the 6,000 pound range right now. And that's, you know, perfect for the SUV this size. I wouldn't go probably much bigger than that, mainly, or heavier, mainly because we have to also think about the tongue weight. And in most cases, you're going to be closer to 15% of your GVWR in terms of tongue weight. So this vehicle, having roughly 1,400 and change pounds worth of cargo capacity, you load a family of 4 inside of here, you've eaten up possibly 600, 700 pounds of that cargo capacity, which is going to leave you with about 800-ish pounds worth of cargo capacity. So a 6,000 pound travel trailer is arguably going to transfer about 750 to 800 pounds to the back. So this is ideally the perfect weight of trailer to put behind a truck like this or an SUV like this. You know.
Yes, no, you're right. I'm not of the mindset that just because I can tow 8,500 pounds, I'm going to go do that. I want that capability and capacity if I need it. But on my typical towing, I'm going to stay below that. That's just my, I don't know, my conservative side of, if I was going to buy a vehicle and I had a 7,000 pound trailer, I'm not going to buy a vehicle that's capable of just 7,000 pounds. I'm going to get that extra cushion and still tow my 7,000 pound trailer.
Who really wants to live at Redline?
Right?
You know what I mean? Who really wants to go, you know, I can tow it and by gosh, it's the limit.
Right.
You know, a glass of water you can fill to the very top, but you typically don't.
That's exactly
you know,
right.
you don't want to spill it over it, and that's kind of the thing here is, do you really want to tow at the max capacity of what your vehicle's capable of, knowing that the manufacturer of that vehicle put it as a max capacity, not to live there, but just as a capability of working there if you need it to.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah, so I can definitely tell I'm towing a trailer. I can definitely tell that the trailer is being influenced by the road surface a little bit. I don't think there's really any wind right now. I'm not feeling anything that would make me uncomfortable with towing this size of trailer, but I'm definitely still sticking to my guns that this is as large of a trailer as I would ever want to put behind this. Now, if it's like a utility trailer, a flat trailer where I can maneuver or I can change where stuff is loaded, I can move it forward of the axle slightly, it's a lower profile, it's not going to have as much wind impacting it, then yes, I would probably be able to go up to 8,500 pounds because I know that I could dial in that a 10% tongue weight. But on RVs, you're typically pushing 15, possibly more percent of your GVWR, which means that you could very easily have a trailer well under the maximum tow capacity of this vehicle, but with a tongue weight that exceeds the maximum payload capacity of this vehicle once you factor your family and all your supplies in.
Yeah, that's, goodness knows, you got your family, you got all your toys, you got all your beverages, food.
Yep.
It adds up real fast.
The way I usually like to factor all of that in is 900 pounds. For a typical travel trailer, that accounts usually for a family of 4, your weight distribution hitch, which even though you're distributing weight, it still counts against your payload because it weighs about 120 pounds. So your weight distribution hitch, as well as everything you typically would load in a vehicle. That gets dangerous when you talk about half-ton trucks, because a lot of times with half-ton trucks, people will load the bed of their truck up with stuff like generators and mountain bikes and all sorts of camping stuff, and they don't realize that in a lot of cases they're hundreds of pounds over what the truck was designed to haul, and that's never a good situation to be in.
No, it's not.
Any final thoughts, my friend?
No, this has been fun hanging out with you.
Likewise,
you got a lot of knowledge to share, and I really appreciate that you get that information out to the people that watch your channel. I think just riding with you and listening of what you're sharing with your following is so beneficial. So many things that people will be able to use when they get their trailer or get out in that real world situation.
I appreciate that. At the end of the day, when somebody's researching 2025 Nissan Armada, driving impressions, what it's like, there's going to be 150 plus journalists posting content on that. When people come to my channel, they usually want to see how it's going to perform in a towing environment, how it's going to perform compared to some other vehicles that I've reviewed and evaluated. I don't do sports cars. I don't do, you're not going to really see me in a lot of the vehicles that people talk about. And like they were asking me over lunch, have I drifted a McLaren or have I drifted a Ferrari? I've never even been invited to a McLaren or a Ferrari press event. I don't even get invited to the car one. So you guys, Ultima and all that, they don't invite me.
I'm in the same boat, man. They don't invite me, and they don't ask me to work on those cars.
Yep. I care about how this feels compared to every other truck, every other SUV, every other body on frame. Mm-hmm. That's how I care. And that's the evaluation I give you. A lot of folks will hop into something like this and they're comparing it to, a mid-sized Mercedes SUV or a mid-sized Lexus, and that's not a fair comparison because it's an entirely, yes, use purpose, use case, luxury SUV, hauls a lot of people, able to carry stuff, but this has a towing capacity that a lot of them don't. This has a people hauling capacity a lot of them don't, and this is going to have a different use case for a lot of people than some of those other vehicles, and it's going to drive different. It's just understanding that it's just going to drive different. It's not going to be the same vehicle.
Yeah, we have to balance out taking the kids to school, going out to dinner, towing a trailer, and then off-road. We're in a Pro 4X. This truck's got a locker, and we're still towing with it.
Yep, very true. Anyways, we're gonna take this one back. We're gonna wrap this video up. You guys know I typically don't like super long videos, but this has been pretty, it's been a pretty awesome video. Great folks to work with, and Ryan, I appreciate your time, buddy.
I appreciate being able to hang out with you.
Of course, guys, if you haven't had a chance, I'd appreciate it if you took a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll be back to talk to you again real soon.